Hello everyone, it's Foo here, and today I want to talk to you about Gourgeist. This little or large pumpkin has received some significant buffs both in Pokemon Sword and Shield and the Isle of Armor DLC that has allowed it to become a much better support and offensive Pokemon, which is so cool, and I really want to demonstrate that to you today. I've got some battles to show you the buffs that it's received and how much more powerful it is. I'm really excited to show you how it can sweep as well, because it uses some really cool mechanics that are definitely on brand for this channel. But first, a bit about Gourgeist. So it's a grass ghost Pokemon that comes in a variety of sizes, from super large, which is very bulky and quite powerful but very slow, to a tiny little pumpkin that's much faster but more frail and not quite as strong. But that's really cool because it allows you to tailor Gourgeist's stats to suit the role that it's playing, which is very fun. So first I thought I'd show you an example of the utility sets that you could run, and it's definitely got a buff here. The main buff that it received is access to Imprison as of Pokemon Sword and Shield. It didn't used to learn this move, and actually it never really was that viable, but this generation Imprison has been very valuable because it prevents Trick Room. So Imprison stops the opponent from using any moves that your Pokemon that used Imprison knows. And so if you use Imprison with a Pokemon that knows Trick Room, they can't set up Trick Room. Trick Room is so pivotal in VGC at the moment because it's a great speed control method. So Gourgeist being able to imprison Trick Room is a very valuable thing that it can do now. It also can perform the very popular self-activation of weakness policy strategy that people use, and it can even support with its signature move Trick or Treat that you never used to see too often, but I would argue that this generation it is a bit more useful. So I thought I'd jump into a battle to try to show you these elements together. My opponent leads off with Dusclops and Grimmsnarl, which really threaten my sweeper, which is Dragapult, because of Trick Room and speed control with Thunder Wave, and also because of foul play out of Grimmsnarl. I have a tiny Gourgeist here which has Frisk, which is really helpful because I see the Light Clay on the Grimmsnarl, meaning that it's probably going to try to set up screens, and if it does get a Reflect up, my self-activation weakness policy with Shadow Sneak into max Phantasm from the Dragapult won't take out the Dusclops, and they'll still be able to get up Trick Room. So what I want to do instead is get a bit of damage on the Dusclops with my Shadow Sneak, and I will then go for a Phantom Force because this takes Dragapult off the field this turn, and also if Trick Room is up, it takes it off the field the next turn too, meaning that Grimmsnarl can't hit it with any super effective hits. This means that on this turn, I can reverse the Trick Room, having got some damage on the Dusclops, and put it in range of a +2 max Phantasm, and it allows me to just position quite well. So Dragapult doesn't take any hits from Grimmsnarl. I can reverse Trick Room with my Gourgeist. Instead of imprisoning, I felt this was a better way to waste some turns and also to get the damage I need on the Dusclops. I decide to waste another turn by protecting with my Dragapult and then going for an Imprison with my Gourgeist to ensure that Trick Room can't be set up again. And I'm pretty confident my opponent will just try for another Trick Room, so I was quite happy with that this was a safe play. I also see Spirit Break, which means that my Dragapult is actually really safe versus this Grimmsnarl as long as it doesn't have foul play. So now what I can do is max my Dragapult and self-activate my weakness policy with Shadow Sneak so that I then can guarantee take out the Dusclops and be in a much better position here. I mean, if the Dusclops goes for Ally Switch here, it's kind of okay because I'm getting some more damage and some defense drops on the Grimmsnarl, and it means that they're not setting up the Trick Room, which is kind of the main thing here. So Gourgeist is showing that it's really good at preventing that Trick Room, but also supporting Dragapult with the self-activation. Now Dusclops does go down, which is fantastic, and we get the defense drop on the Grimmsnarl, which is really important. I'm not too worried that the Grimmsnarl will be able to take out my Dragapult from here, as they go for a Spirit Break into my Gourgeist. My Gourgeist, by the way, is not EV'd correctly. It's got max attack instead of max HP, so I'm doing more damage to my Dragapult and taking hits worse, which isn't ideal. So it should be like max HP, max speed. Now what I can do is show another tricksy aspect of Gourgeist. Dragapult just dodges a Thunder Wave there, which wouldn't really matter too much unless I had got fully parried, but that's not going to happen. We go for a max Whirlwind, doesn't quite take out the Arcanine, but remember reflects up, so that is a lot of damage. And we get the attack drops on both, which is pretty helpful because it means that Grimmsnarl is a bit less of a threat with that Spirit Break. Now I can go for a Trick or Treat, which is an animation you very rarely see, and it gives Grimmsnarl the Ghost typing, making it Fairy, Dark, and Ghost type. Why that's important is that my Max Phantasm into the Grimmsnarl will now be a neutral hit. Instead of being resisted because of the Dark typing, it also has a Ghost typing, making it a neutral hit. Now the Grimmsnarl goes for another Thunder Wave and misses again. Again, I don't think it matters too much because the Arcanine is just snarling and really not doing too much damage, so it wouldn't have been able to take me out before I got my hit off. So now the Arcanine's at -1 attack and -1 defense. Interestingly, the Arcanine goes for a Will-O-Wisp into the Togekiss, obviously hoping to get the Thunder Wave on the Dragapult. And I kind of see their Wincon when they send in their last Pokemon. I don't really agree with it. I think that maybe they could have played things slightly differently because their last is Snorlax, and I guess what they wanted to do was bank on some full powers so that they could get a Belly Drum off. But you can see now that their whole game plan was really based around getting Trick Room up and then supporting their Belly Drum Snorlax to win the game. But because of Gourgeist, that was never really going to happen. I could prevent Trick Room all day, and I can support my Dragapult and just deal with the Snorlax very easily. So even though Gourgeist didn't have the bulk that it really should have, I think it really demonstrated how it can perform well. And the Trick or Treat is really cool because you can make things that are usually take hits from Dragapult quite well. You can make them weak to its Max Phantasm, so that is really, really fun to do. So at the end of this battle is slightly drawn out because they haven't even used their Dynamax yet, which is a little bit scary. I did maybe just under half with my moves from last turn, and now they're going to Dynamax. That means that my attacks definitely aren't going to KO here, which is not ideal, even after the Belly Drum. So that's not ideal, but I have got the Yawn on the Snorlax. So unless it has like max, like yeah, I don't know. Unless it has Wild Charge or something and it can use the max move and then prevent itself from going to sleep and take out the Togekiss on the same turn, I don't think it's too much of a problem. And it kind of needs to bank on the max replenish, getting the berry back. But even then, it's not going to work because I do have another Pokemon in the back and it's falling asleep. So yeah, this one was kind of wrapped up. So that's really cool. And you can see my last hit is Tyranitar, and this is important to note because it's another Pokemon that can be supported by Gourgeist, because what you can do is go for Trick or Treat into your Tyranitar, and that will give it the Ghost typing. And that's important because obviously it's 4 times weak to fighting, but if you give it the Ghost typing, you become immune to fighting, and so that's another use of Trick or Treat, which I think is very cool. And I think that it's really kind of an underappreciated move. I really like these type changing moves, and Trick or Treat is definitely a really cool one. So I think Gourgeist has a ton of utility, especially now with the imprisoned Trick Room, but also with Dragapult being so important, having that Shadow Sneak self-activation, and having that utility in Trick or Treat, basically making your Max Phantasms twice as strong because you're adding either a weakness or taking away a resistance. So very, very good Pokemon, and that's why Gourgeist is a great support Pokemon. But now let's move on to the much more interesting offensive buffs that Gourgeist received, because it received some really, really momentous ones. The first one is that it now learns Power Whip, because that is a TR as of Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is a really powerful grass type move, base 120 power, and previously it could only use Seed Bomb, which was base 80 power. So that's really great, especially for a Pokemon that has a decent attack stat but not the highest. It needs high base power moves. The other one is Poltergeist becoming a tutor move. So previously it didn't even get Shadow Claw, it had to rely on Shadow Sneak and Phantom Force, which are awful ghost coverage moves in prior generations. So having Poltergeist now is so great, because that thing is such a high base power. It makes a much more powerful Max Phantasm and is just a great move all round. It did also get Grassy Glide. To mention it, I don't think it's that great because it doesn't set up grassy terrain itself with Grassy Surge. You could pair up with Rillaboom, but they've not got very good synergy at all because they are weak to the same things. So Grassy Surge is there, but I would advise against it. I think Power Whip is probably the way to go if you want an offensive threat. You could just whap a Choice Band on the super-sized Gourgeist to do some massive damage, or maybe like a Life Orb on one of the faster versions if you want to Revenger and to do some damage that way. But obviously on this channel we want something a bit more spicy, so I've made a really fun team that I will show you now that has a lot of stupid memes and stuff. Before we get into the next battle, can I please ask you to leave a like and subscribe for more content, because it really helps the channel out. So my opponent leads with their Corviknight and Rillaboom, their shiny Rillaboom that they must have spent ages breeding for, and then a lot of time obviously coming up with such a fantastic nickname, as I lead with Throw and my Gourgeist. And you never see Throw, so I was really excited to be able to try to use Throw on a team, and this team is pretty cool. So just note that all the abilities are activating, and my Gourgeist does not have the Frisk ability, and you'll see why. The Rillaboom goes for a knockoff, which activates my weakness policy, which is fantastic, and the opposing Corviknight goes for a Brave Bird, fortunately into Throw and not into my Gourgeist, which doesn't do too much damage. It's a very bulky Throw. It's actually a support set. As you can see, Throw is going to throw its Lychee Berry onto Gourgeist, which would have activated the weakness policy even if the knockoff hadn't already activated it. And that's obviously going to give my Gourgeist another attack boost. So now it's at +3 attack, and it sets up the Trick Room. Now what's really cool is that at the end of the turn, so obviously we get all the grassy terrain recovery, but at the end of the turn you can see I've got Pick Up, because I can pick up the berry that Throw through me, which is so cool. The really annoying thing about this battle is that the grassy terrain took me out of the 25% range, so I don't get to eat it again. And actually that kind of comes to bite me, which is really annoying. If that grassy terrain hadn't been up there, I'd have been at +4 attack here. But it's by the by, it's not too bad. What I can do here is Throw can use Coaching to give my Gourgeist +1 attack and +1 defense, so now +4 attack and +1 defense, and I can go for the Max Phantasm into the Corviknight, a very bulky Pokemon, but it's not going to be able to take this attack. We drop the Rillaboom's defense stat here, but what's fantastic is that because of the defense boost from Coaching, I'm actually able to survive another knockoff with 6 HP. The really annoying thing in this battle is that Pick Up actually made that knockoff stronger, because I wasn't able to use the berry, and so knockoff was able to knock an item off, and it was stronger, and that was really annoying me, because like this would have been a perfect battle to show you guys if I actually ate the berry with the Pick Up. I thought that it was such a cool mechanic to try to use. I'll show you it kind of working in another battle. But yeah, anyway, the opponent now is going to Dynamax their Espeon, which I thought was an interesting choice, because obviously it's not very strong against my Gourgeist here. And I can just go for a Seismic Toss to get some damage in case it was like a Focus Sash Espeon, and I'm going to go for a Max Phantasm into the Rillaboom to take that out. We've got another beautiful shiny Pokemon on the opposing side of the field with another very inventive nickname. Really appreciating that. A lot of effort's gone into their team, I can see. Anyway, the Espeon decides to target my Throw, possibly because it's like just giving my Gourgeist boosts out of boosts. I'm not really sure. But yeah, Throw goes down, and we're not in a bad position here, because now I can send out Call Me By Your Name, and we can just go for some eruptions, which is pretty good. So yeah, the Drought comes out, and the next turn, obviously Torkoal is going to move first because it's very slow and we're still in Trick Room. Does a lot of damage, but doesn't take out either opponent, which is a bit of a shame. But our Max Overgrowth here is definitely going to pick up a KO on the Espeon, so we won't have any like terrain changes here. We can stick in the grassy terrain, and that's kind of preferable for me because I'm still getting some residual recovery on my Gourgeist. And it also would power up a Solar Beam from the Torkoal, so that's pretty neat to note. My opponent's going to go for a Muddy Water here and doesn't take out Gourgeist because it's still got 3 HP and we've got the sun up and everything. Ah, so beautiful. So Gourgeist is going to be on the field at the end of this battle, which is pretty great because we can end this one with just a Solar Beam from my Torkoal. Obviously, my Gourgeist has like Power Whip and Poltergeist, and that's why its max moves are doing so much damage, because they're based on higher base power moves. The max moves are more powerful than they would be using any other move, so that's pretty cool. And a terrain boosted Solar Beam can take out the Milotic here. So that was a bit of just like a, a proof of concept one for this battle, where I'm trying to use pick up Gourgeist and a throw combination. Throw with fling. I just love that. Throwing the item. So I did try another thing. Like I tried to make like throwing an Alakazam, throwing a Salak Berry into a smaller Gourgeist to make it speedy and to activate its weakness policy. Tried to make that work, but the issue is that basically the smaller Gourgeists just aren't quite strong enough. I like having the big Gourgeist, which already has a higher base attack stat, and throwing it a Lychee Berry, giving it +3 on the first turn and setting up Trick Room. It just does a lot more damage. Like the next turn you're going to take out things with one hit, whereas like you can see here, I've got a smaller Gourgeist. I can like fling it the Salak Berry and get the weakness policy, but it's just not quite strong enough. The opponent has their Bravery, which they are actually going to Dynamax, and that's like, Bravery is a pretty bulky Pokemon. It's got a base 100 HP stat, so you need to do a lot of damage, and we are able to do a lot of damage. Oh, you'll see, we're able to do a lot of damage, but it's just not quite enough. By the way, this Alakazam, what I like doing is pairing up Gourgeist with Inner Focus Pokemon. That's why I was using Throw. It's Inner Focus, because your opponent, if they have a Fake Out user, they obviously can't Fake Out Gourgeist, so they'll try to Fake Out your other Pokemon. So both Alakazam and Throw were Inner Focus in case the opponent wanted to Fake Out. So we go for a fling here. It does no damage because Alakazam has such a low attack stat, which is great. We can get the speed boost from the Salak Berry, and we can get the weakness policy activated. And then what's really cool is that Gourgeist actually gets Rock Slide, which is a pretty useful coverage move for flying types like this. But the max Rockfall just misses out on the KO on Bravery, and that's probably a no bulk invested Bravery. It's probably just like max attack, max speed, and then the Airstream comes out and it does take out the Gourgeist. I mean, what I could have done maybe is, this is like the tiniest Gourgeist, so maybe a Gourgeist, just an average Gourgeist, or maybe even a large Gourgeist with the Salak Berry boost. It would have been faster and would have done more damage to the Bravery, but also would have more bulk to take a max Airstream, because they do have a base 122 defense stat, so they are very bulky Pokemon. So that was just showing you that I tried to make that one work, but it didn't quite work. I think that there's maybe some potential there, but it needs a bit more rework. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is just this is my super large Gourgeist again, taking a Charizard's max Airstream, which then procs my weakness policy and everything. Like, it's a Charizard that isn't in the sun, and I don't think it had Life Orb. I think with Life Orb it probably would have taken me out. But what it allows me to then do is obviously take out the Charizard. So I just wanted to show you that for like the Rockfall, Overgrowth, Phantasm combo. It's pretty nice coverage. Obviously there are some things that still resist, but I think it's pretty neat coverage that a lot of people don't expect. Even with pickup, and you can actually see in this one, like I fling the Lychee Berry. I'm obviously on really low health, and what's neat is I eat the Lychee Berry, get the pickup, and then eat it again, so I now got +4 attack. But the problem with this one was I didn't actually get Trick Room up, so my Gourgeist is probably just going to faint that turn. But I wanted to show it because I think pickup is a really underrated ability, and it can be used very well. It can be used for some really cool things. In this instance, it's got potential, but didn't quite get it to work as well as I wanted it to. But Gourgeist is a really fun Pokemon. You should definitely try it out, just because it's got that ridiculous stat range from the super size to the tiny size. You can really adapt it and make some really fun sets. So definitely try out Gourgeist. But that's going to be all from me. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Ring the bell so that you know when my next upload comes out, because I'm not a very regular uploader, so don't miss it. All that's left to be said is I've been Foo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.